I want to talk about talent today. More specifically, how do we give ourselves permission? Permission to develop ourselves to who we want to be, not who other people think we should be. You know, you talk about left brain, right brain thinking. Left brain's very analytical, a lot of reason. I can say that because I have a lot of left brain thinking going on right now. But I don't know if you know this, but all that left brain, right brain stuff is a whole bunch of bunk. It actually is not true. I'll demonstrate that for you today, I hope. Paper. What is paper? What is this guy talking about paper for? I don't know if you know this, but on the left side is an engineer's computation pad. And on the right side is an artist pad. Okay? Now, you might have heard, oh, I can take a left brain test, a right brain test, find if I'm left or right brained. Remember I said that's a bunch of bunk. So if nothing else today when you go to sleep, you say that's a bunch of bunk. I have two halves of my brain, and I use them all of the time. Now, uncertainty. This is how I deal with uncertainty. This is me in the morning. Oh. And after a nice lunch and sun outside, you're coming into a dark theater. You can close your eyes, pretend you're sleeping. You slept all night. You had a restful sleep. You're waking up. What do you think about? Oh my gosh, what am I going to do today? How am I going to get through the day? What uncertainties lie for me today? What am I going to do? How am I going to get the kids out of the house in time? How do I make sure they have lunch, which I forgot to do on Friday? But there's something else in there. My brain is constantly going back and forth and back and forth. It says, wait a second, what gifts does today bring? How am I going to work on myself and my environment so that I can develop myself to be a better person and share my talent? So let's do some questions. We've got different kinds of paper. Well, what is paper? Why do we have paper? Just think about that for a second. Why do we have paper? We have email now. What do we need paper for? How far can a piece of paper go? Well, I'm an experimentalist. I experiment in the lab, in music, in art, and all sorts of things. And we can say, you know, how far can a piece of paper go? About that far. Don't worry, I'll recycle this later. Well, we need a different design. We could hope for that piece of paper to go to the back of the theater, right? But it didn't. So my hopes every day to manage uncertainty are usually starting out with the how do I design against uncertainty? How do I make sure that I'm got all those risks mitigated and managed so that I can be happy? But then I'm missing something totally, completely different. That is, what am I not going to allow myself to be open to? And so we need different designs for and against uncertainty. So here's another design. This will go considerably farther. And when you're thinking, hey, yeah! Excellent. It went twice as far. 3 times as far. I love it. We can use our brains to make sure that we have all sorts of different designs. Anybody know what I'm doing yet? I'll be fast because I only have 10 minutes. Okay, will this go faster than my previous 2 designs? Who thinks yes? I don't have time for a bird. I'm not that skilled. Now, we could continue with this left brain paper, or we can continue with a different style of paper, which is now designing for uncertainty instead of against uncertainty. This is my favorite paper airplane design of all times because it is the most creative. But when you think about creativity, what does creativity mean? In my mind, when we design against uncertainty, we're trying to reduce risk. We're trying to answer questions. But that's not how we solve really tough problems. This design will go to the back of the theater almost instantaneously. Are you ready? When we think on all sides of our brain, you might be thinking, this guy's nuts. It didn't go anywhere. Right? But that piece of paper traveled at 343 meters per second to the back of this room, didn't it? And so we have to question the answers now. And we question the questions. And that's a totally different way of thinking. And you need to give yourself permission to do that. Well, how do you do that? Well, you have to experiment. So paper can do all sorts of other things, like art, for example. So I thought about, what does a man playing guitar look like? This is one design. Here's another, and another, another one, and another one. I don't know if you can tell in the last one, it's when I was in high school and Terminator 2 came out. So there's a lot of robot stuff going on. And I had to give myself permission to not only think about arts and engineering, but to think about a challenge to myself, which is to do both. Choice is not about choosing one or the other. It's about combining and allowing yourself to do that. And one of the other things we can explore through art is that uncertainty. Just as a picture I made by dripping ink on a page. And basically almost passing out because I was hyperventilating, going, blowing all these ink drops because I didn't know what's going to happen. And I was okay with that because I gave myself permission to be okay with that. And what do you see? You see what you see. You alone will see what you see. Talent is a gift if you share it with others. Otherwise, it's just something you do. And that's really important to me. You have to practice these gifts. These are pages out of some of my sketchbooks. And it's page after page, after page after page. Different media, different sizes, different frames of mind, different experiments, different media. And then I will only tell you so much, but only if you put it in context and put it on a face. And it gives you windows into other ways of thinking. And then I get to my other part of my life, remember, we have right brain and left brain. But remember, that's all a bunch of, you got it. So I have fun. And I decided, you know what, I could choose between science and engineering and art, or I could just do both. And so that's what I chose to do. These are all microscopy images of the same material. But I use my different way of thinking to try to get them to do different things. So I can share and visualize the microscopic intricacies of materials to teach people in different ways. How do you do that? You don't just try to teach people with their head. You have to teach them with their heart, and we've heard a lot about that today. And their hands. Busy hands are learning brains. So getting people to do things is really important. The practice is critical. Nature is really good at practicing, as it turns out, and really good at designing, and really good at experimenting. And would you say nature has a left or a right brain? No. Nature is. Nature has amazing abilities. On the left side of the screen in the top right are pictures from pineapple leaves. And to me, they look like glass art from Dale Chihuly out of Seattle, which is the bottom right. And would I see that before if I didn't study art? Probably not. Would it matter? It matters to me because that's how I feel. And I give my permission to myself to do that, and I hope you can do that for yourself. And then we get to a different kind of creativity, which is in the lab. One of these pictures is of a sugarcane leaf. Another one is made out of, ready for it, alpha aluminum oxide, gamma aluminum oxide, theta aluminum oxide. Can you tell which is which? Does it matter? Well, they both behave in similar ways. Nature has a lot of hidden talent. And we also have to give ourselves permission to look towards nature and say, well, what can we do with that too? How are we going to share nature's talents for the challenges we have in our lives and in our world to design ourselves and design our environment? So I'll give you the punchline. This is ceramic and sugarcane. And I think what we really need to do is stop looking at this model of where design intersects arts or engineering or science independently and mix it all up in a funnel. And stop thinking about this left-right brain crap, because it's all a bunch of, okay, that's 3 times, you know it now. Because we can design things or we can ask questions, question the answers we have to those questions, question those questions, and make sure that at the end of the day, we think about those people we love again as we go to sleep, right? And you can close your eyes and have hope. But remember, hope's not a strategy. Design is a strategy. And you have to use your whole brain. Thank you very much.